Welcome to Global One Media Stocks to Watch. I'm Michael Swido. I'm speaking today with Frank Callaghan. He's the president and CEO of Cariboo Resources. They're a junior mining company in Canada that is revisiting history with intention of striking gold in the near future. Frank, welcome to the show.
Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Back in the 1860s, that's a few years after the California gold rush had subsided, some 4,000 miners flocked to the remote Cariboo Mountains in British Columbia to pan for gold. And you know what? Many of them struck it rich. According to official records, some $2 million worth of gold was retrieved in just a few years. It would certainly be worth substantially more today. So Frank, tell us, what has attracted your company back to this historical site?
The greenstone contact. This contact historically in other parts of Canada, in the northern Ontario and northern Quebec, has a historic production of over 200 million ounces of gold on this type of setting. And we discovered this setting in 2016. We recognized it and we continued following up on it, and we've just started getting some joy in our drilling.
I got to say, one question that pops into mind, and you may have addressed this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Aren't you worried at all that this historical property has already been mined out?
The significance of what we've actually uncovered in our drilling is we've just uncovered gold in a rock formation that hasn't been recognized as being gold bearing before. We've seen it in one other place on a parallel trend some 24 years ago when I made a gold discovery on Barkerville Mountain called Bonanza Ledge.
That's really something. We're going to talk more about the project site for Gold and Cariboo in just a moment, but I want to get to know you a bit better first. You joined the company just last month. You've been working in mining in British Columbia and the Yukon, though, for over 30 years. So tell us, what attracted you to this company?
Well, I've put 2 gold mines into production in this area within 60 kilometers of where we are. One was a discovery that I'd mentioned earlier, Bonanza Ledge. We discovered in 2000, in the spring of 2000, and that is now currently going into production by Osisko Development. They bought our company for some $330 million. And then down the road from it, I purchased out of receivership another mine that was put into production by Kinross Gold, and we bought it out of receivership, and I put that into production. This opportunity to do it again was really exciting because we uncovered this similar rocks to what we've seen from our discovery back in 2000.
All right. Well, you and your colleagues at Gold and Cariboo certainly have a good track record. You've listed some of that right there. If we look at your property in the mountains, in the Cariboo Mountains, it's pretty big to say the least. You have the rights to more than 4,000 hectares along the Barkerville Gold Belt and near the historic town of Hickson. These are vast areas of land to explore and develop. So how do you go about it?
Well, the old timers were quite smart in following up with placer gold, but knowing what we know today from the historic mining that's been done on greenstone contacts elsewhere in the world is we're following up on that. So we're drilling in a rock formation that has not been drilled before, and we've just gotten some joy in our last 3 drill holes of a 4-hole drill program that we were doing on exploration. The last hole being the best, which we had some near 120 intercepts that went in and out of a gold bearing. What we're finding is we're finding gold in the country rock, which hasn't been seen before in this area.
That's exciting. Okay, so I mean, you mentioned the placer gold. That's what people were doing back in the 1860s, panning in the river. Now you're drilling in what you call the greenstone. What's the timeline look like for you going forward?
Well, it's going to take some time. So the discovery has just been realized just in the last couple of months, really in the last less than, say, 30 days or so, that we've recognized that we've actually stumbled upon something. So it's going to require an awful lot more holes. The last project from discovery to pouring the first bar was 14 years. They say from when you think you found a mine to it going to production is 10 years. Probably takes a little bit longer in British Columbia. So the last time we did it, it was 14 years start to finish.
All right. So you got some work ahead of you. One thing which I thought was really interesting about this property is it's practically encircled by a much larger company called Osisko Development. And if I understand correctly, their project is already headed into production. And Frank, you worked on that project before, didn't you? How are these related to each other?
I discovered that project. Our team discovered that project, and we started working on it in the spring of 1995. We were taken over. The company was taken over. The first offer was in 2015, with the complete takeover in 2016 for some $330 million. Osisko realized that once we had this new project that we had put together near Hickson, once we had put this property together, Osisko Development realized what we had, and they staked 20 kilometers to the north of us and 20 kilometers to the south of us, realizing that we really were on the greenstone contact.
All right, that's great. I mean, that's definitely, I would say, a thumbs up, a recommendation to see your former company and your competitors say, we also want to be in this area.
You're right. It's excellent.
So let's turn to the investment side of the equation now. Your company had a reverse stock split earlier this month, with shareholders receiving 1 new share for every 3 old shares that they had previously held. You're also raising 2 million Canadian dollars in a private placement, which I believe is largely being made to insiders. So tell us, why should people watching this video right now invest in your company?
Well, it's a grassroots story with an excellent exploration team that's found mines before and put mines into production. We really believe that this will be our 3rd mine in the area. And it's not only insiders. We've actually gone to existing shareholders and asked them to participate in the private placement that we're doing. And this will just be the first start. So this is like a seed capital run. So anybody is available to participate in the financing. It's been very well received. And this is just the first start. Once we're able to demonstrate with the next several drill holes, we expect the price to really improve significantly. When we made this type of discovery back in 2000, we went from pennies a share in March to dollars a share by May.
And it's also always a good sign when existing shareholders are sort of reinvesting, putting money back into a company. And of course, when the insiders are doing that as well. Frank, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today, and good luck up there in Canada's Cariboo Mountains.
Thank you very much. Nice to be with you.
We've been speaking with Golden Cariboo Resources CEO Frank Callaghan, and you've been watching Global Media's Stocks to Watch. I'm Michael Suedo.